Hello. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were two German brothers who collected and wrote down folk tales. These became known as Grimm's fairy stories. One of these stories is called The Fisherman and His Wife. You may notice a very interesting psychological moral in this story. I'm going to tell the story with various pictures to illustrate the plot. Once upon a time there lived a poor fisherman and his wife who had no better home than a broken-down hut. The fisherman grew vegetables in a tiny garden, and a scraggy hen provided them with eggs. Although the couple were so poor, they were contented and did not think that they could live in any other fashion. One day, the fisherman went as usual to catch fish for the couple's dinner. After a while, he felt a heavy weight pulling at his fishing rod. With a great effort, he finally landed a flounder. To the fisherman's amazement, the flounder began to speak to him. "Please let me go. I am a prince who has been enchanted by a wicked sorcerer. Please let me live." The fisherman felt sorry for the flounder and threw him back into the water. When the fisherman returned home without any fish and told his wife what had happened, she was very angry. "You fool," she said. "You meet an enchanted fish and you do him a favour by letting him live, and you ask for nothing in return? Go back at once and ask the fish for a favour." The fisherman was puzzled. He said to his wife, "What do you want, wife? We have everything we need. What could I possibly ask for?" His wife replied, "Look at the way we live. We are so poor. When it rains, the rain comes through the roof of our hut. Go at once to the fish and ask him to provide us with a cottage in a nice garden with hens and a cow and a pig in it." The fisherman wanted to please his wife, so he went back to speak to the fish. He called to the fish, and the flounder appeared at once. "What do you want?" said the fish. "My wife would like a cottage with a small garden, hens, and a cow and a pig in it." The fish replied, "Go home. Your wife already has this." The fisherman returned home and was amazed to see his wife smiling and happy in a large kitchen in a delightful cottage set in a garden with hens, a cow, and a pig in it. "Well, wife," the fisherman said, "now you have what you asked for, and we shall be happy for the rest of our lives." For some time, the fisherman and his wife lived in quiet contentment. One day, his wife looked very gloomy, and the fisherman asked her what was wrong. "I've been thinking, husband. It seems to me that the fish could have done more for us than this." The fisherman was upset. "But wife, we are living very happily here. What more do you want?" His wife said, "This place is too small for me. Go to the fish and tell him I want a mansion to live in, with a very big garden and servants to attend to us." The fisherman was shocked. "But wife, we don't need a mansion with servants." "Yes, we do," said his wife. "Go to the fish at once and get a mansion for me." The fisherman was not happy. He noticed on his way to see the fish that the sky was grey and an unpleasant wind was blowing. "Well," said the fish, "what does she want now?" "I'm sorry to trouble you," said the fisherman, "but my wife wants a mansion with a large garden and servants to attend to her." "Go home," said the fish. "She already has them." The fisherman discovered his wife walking around a large mansion with beautiful furniture and servants awaiting their orders in every room. She looked out of the window at her husband, who stood marveling at the beautiful garden surrounding the mansion. He called out to her, "Well, wife, surely you are satisfied now. Nothing can be better than this place." Said his wife. "I don't know about that." The next day, his wife told the fisherman to go again to the fish. "But what can you want, wife? What can I ask for?" "I want us to be king and queen in a palace." "But that cannot be," said the fisherman. "Yes, it can," said his wife. "Go at once to the fish." On his way to the fish, the fisherman saw that the sky was very dark and that a thunderstorm was brewing. The river was dark and choppy. "Well, what does she want now?" said the fish. "She wants us to be king and queen and live in a palace," said the trembling fisherman. "Go home," said the fish. "She is already there." When the fisherman came home, he was amazed to see 200 tall, red-coated soldiers standing in front of a magnificent palace. He approached them fearfully, not knowing what to do. A servant appeared, issued a sharp order, and the soldiers immediately formed 2 ranks, allowing the fisherman to pass through. 2 servants opened the gates of the palace, and 2 further servants opened the great doors of the palace to let the fisherman in. As he entered an enormous hall, he saw his wife sitting on a golden throne. She was dressed in splendid robes, and a golden crown with many jewels was upon her head. Next to her was another golden throne, and she beckoned to her husband to come and sit beside her. Hundreds of servants stood around the hall, and at his wife's command, a dozen of them sprang forward. They carried magnificent robes for the fisherman to wear, and a golden crown set with jewels was placed upon his head. The servants bowed low and retreated. The fisherman did not feel comfortable in this situation, but he saw that his wife looked happy, and he believed that she would now be content. His wife ordered a magnificent banquet to be prepared, and hundreds of guests were invited to the feast. Everybody ate and drank and danced. "Now, wife," said the fisherman, "there is nothing else that you could possibly want. There is nothing that could be greater than all this." His wife looked thoughtful. She said, "I think there is something greater than this to be had." The fisherman was horrified, and he trembled violently. "There is nothing, wife, greater than this." "Husband, I tell you, I want to be Pope." The fisherman nearly collapsed when he heard this. "But wife, you cannot be Pope. No woman can be Pope. Yes, I will be Pope. Go to the fish at once and tell him to make me Pope. The fisherman did not dare to disobey his wife. Very sadly, he went once more to the fish. The sky was nearly black, and great waves rose high in the river. The fish did not appear at once, and the fisherman had to call him several times. "And what does she want now?" asked the fish. The fisherman was frightened. She wants to be the Pope." "Go home," said the fish. "She is already Pope." The fisherman discovered his wife sitting in an enormous cathedral. She wore the robes of a pope, and 100 cardinals stood around her. Enormous candles were lit all over the cathedral. The fisherman was filled with awe and fell to his knees. "You may stand," said the fisherman's wife. The fisherman stood up, but bowed his head. "Now that you are Pope, wife, there is no further need for me to go to the fish." His wife looked at him sternly. "Leave me," she ordered. That night, as the fisherman slept peacefully, he felt a sharp digging in his ribs. He awoke to find his wife standing over him. "What is the matter, wife? Why have you woken me up in the middle of the night?" "Husband, go to the fish at once." "Are you mad, wife? Have you been dreaming?" "I said, go to the fish at once. I want you to tell him to make me Lord of the sun and moon." The fisherman stared at his wife in horror. "But that is impossible, wife. You cannot become Lord of the universe." "Yes, I will be. That fish can do anything he wants. Go at once." The fisherman was so frightened that he got out of bed and put on his cloak and boots. As he stumbled out of the door, he saw flashes of blood-streaked lightning, and there was an enormous thunderclap. When he reached the river, giant waves nearly drowned him. In a tremulous voice, he called to the fish. He waited a long time before the fish appeared, and all the while, the sky became darker, and the waves rose higher and higher. "Fisherman, why have you called me?" "My wife wants to be Lord of the sun and moon." "Go home," said the fish. "Go back to your hovel."